Where does the development of leaders really begin? Your answer to that question may be impacting the results you're getting. Stay tuned because today I'm going to share a foundational principle for developing leaders. Hey everybody, this is Mac Lake bringing you tips, tools, and techniques for developing leaders. And today I want to talk to you about 3 insights around a foundational principle for the development of leaders. I remember years ago I was working with this young man named David, and I was preparing him to take over leadership over a team I was leading. And just before I was about to hand off leadership to him, he looked at me and he said, "Mac, I'm scared to death. What if the people under me don't grow?" And I remember looking at him and said, "Hey, David, just relax, man. Here's all you got to know. Growing people grow people. As long as you are growing yourself, then the people underneath you are going to grow. Because when we grow ourselves, there's an overflow that pours out on those around us." And so that's the foundational principle I want to share with you today. And it's such an important principle. If we're not growing ourselves, it's going to be very difficult to grow the others around us. But hey, let's be honest. You know, there are times we just get too busy to do self-development, or we get lazy, or we get content, or we just get distracted and we stop developing ourselves. I want you to think about this. When I stop developing myself, it diminishes my sense of credibility with others. It diminishes my confidence. If I stop growing over a period of time, it begins to diminish my confidence. And it diminishes my relevance as well. So if I'm beginning to lose my confidence and my credibility and my relevance with others, then it is going to have a negative impact on my ability to develop others as well. So let's dive into these 3 insights and see what we can learn. Insight number 1, if you really want to grow yourself, is you have to know your what and your why. You got to know what specific competency or character trait you want to grow in and why you want to grow in that particular area. I love what David wrote in Psalm 139. He said, "Search me, O God, and try me, and know my thoughts, and see if there's any wicked way in me, and lead me in your way everlasting." Now, the reason I love that verse is when he says, "Search me, O God," he's using a Hebrew military term that was used by generals to speak of sending spies into enemy territory. They would investigate the enemy territory, then they would bring back intelligence that the military could then use to build a battle plan to go in and defeat the enemy. So David, in essence, is saying, "God, I want you to look at my heart, see what's in my heart, and I want you to show me areas I need to grow. Look in those places that I may not even be aware of, and show me where I need to grow." David was trying to define his what area he needed to grow in. But we also have to know our why. Why do we want to grow in that area? I was coaching a young leader. We're just beginning this coaching relationship, and I was coaching him the other day, and I said, "Hey, I want you to tell me what specific area you want to grow in." And so we started talking about the what, and we wrote out a competency statement of an area where he wanted to grow. And then I said, "Okay, now I want you to tell me why you want to grow in that area." And he gave me some vague answer, and I said, No. Let's talk very specifically. Why do you want to grow in that area? I mean, what results are you hoping to see? What's really the driving factor behind why you want to grow in that area? And I said, "I'm going to ask you 5 times, and I'm going to make you answer it 5 times. So 5 times I asked him, "Why do you want to grow in that area? Why do you want to grow in that area?" And each time we were writing down his answers until he had 5 whys. Here's why it's important. When I define the what area I'm going to grow in, that gives me focus. But when I define the why, that gives me fire. And if I have focus and fire, then I'm going to continue to grow as a leader. Insight number 2 is plan your growth. If you want to continually be growing, then you need a plan for your growth. Let me ask you a question. Is your growth as a leader more accidental or more intentional? I mean, the average leader, their growth is most of the time it's accidental. And so when we're growing accidentally, your growth sort of goes at a trajectory like this. But when you're intentional about your growth and you say, here's where I want to grow and why I want to grow in this area. And next month you say, here's where I want to grow, and you do it again the next month. Then all of a sudden it changes the trajectory of your growth when you know the area you want to grow in and how you're going to grow in it. If you have a plan, it can totally change your trajectory. So let me give you 6 questions that I ask myself when I build my personal growth plan. Question number 1 is, what can I read? This might be a book, article, or a blog post. Question number 2, what can I listen to? Question 3, what can I watch? Question number 4, who can I talk to? Is there somebody that demonstrates that proficiency that I can learn from? Question number 5, who can I watch? Is there somebody that already does that skill well that I can learn from? And then question number 6, how can I practice? What are some ways I can practice that particular competency? So what I do each month is I ask myself, what's a competency or character trait that I would like to grow in? I write that competency or character trait out. And then I ask myself those 6 questions and answer them. And by the time I answer those, I come up with a list of 5, no more than 10 things that I can do, read, listen to that will help me grow in that specific area. That's building a real simple growth plan that's executable and easy. Insight number 3 is question your limits. I think a lot of times we don't grow because we don't push ourselves beyond the boundaries of our own beliefs. And we have to push ourselves beyond the boundary of our own beliefs. Sometimes we put a lid on ourselves and we say, well, my character can only go so far, or my competency can only go so far. But we got to push ourselves past the boundaries of our own beliefs. In 1908, in the Summer Olympics, there was a diver who attempted a double somersault. And I don't know exactly what went wrong, but it went bad. And so 2 months after the Olympics, the Olympic Committee came out and put out a report and said they will no longer allow a double somersault in the Olympics. They banned it from the Olympics because they felt it was too dangerous. Now that's almost comical to us today, because 10-year-olds are doing double somersaults in dive competitions today. And in the Olympics, they're doing quadruple somersaults today. So divers over the years have pushed themselves beyond the boundaries of their beliefs, and they've stretched themselves and grown and grown and grown. We need to do the same thing in our character and our competencies as leaders. So several years ago, I was leading a training group. And I hired 3 guys to come in as trainers, and my job was to train them as trainers. And so I spent 9 months working with these guys, training them to be trainers. And at the end of the 9 months, their confidence, their competence had really grown. And then all of a sudden, I began to push them a little bit harder. And we moved away from the basic competencies of a trainer to what I called micro skills of a trainer. So all of a sudden, I say, guys, you're mastering the content, but now you've got to really begin to master the micro skills of a trainer. And that's listening in a whole different level. It's asking questions that don't just produce discussion, but produce discovery. You've got to watch how you move in the room, where you put your attention. You got to know everything that's going on in that room and how to pivot in a moment in order to regain attention or change the environment. And you know what? The first 80% of their learning in becoming a trainer was pretty easy. It took about 9 months. But once you get about 80% of a competency, the last 20% is hard. That's when you begin to really look for those micro skills, and whatever the area is you're wanting to grow. You look for the micro skills. You begin to push yourself. You begin to assess yourself. You begin to challenge yourself, and you will begin to grow in ways that you never thought you could. And when you begin to do that, people around you begin to take notice. And all of a sudden, your credibility goes up, your confidence goes up, and also your relevance goes up. So we have to push ourselves beyond the boundaries of our own belief if we want to continue to grow. Today, we've been talking about this foundational principle for developing others. Growing leaders grow leaders. I've seen this over the years. When I accelerate my own personal development, it accelerates the growth and development of those around me. Now, let me share this final thing. This is where it gets exciting. This is what I call the compound effect of personal development. If I really focus on developing myself and growing myself as a leader, then I begin to grow. As I begin to grow, the people around me begin to grow. Now, if I do this on a consistent basis, not only do they begin to grow, they turn into self-developers. And as they're consistent as self-developers, the people under them begin to grow. And then as the people under them begin to grow and they begin to get consistent, they become self-developers, and then the people under them begin to grow. So I'm saying all of that to say that when you invest in your own development, there is a compound effect that goes way beyond your immediate influence. I love what Bill Hybels says. He says, when a leader invests in his own leadership development, everybody wins. Guys, thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you like it. We'd love for you to subscribe so you get notification of future videos, and share this with your team. There's a few discussion questions in the description. You can watch the video together and discuss it together and use it as a little training tool. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.